There is little doubt in the minds of most Israelis as to what represents the major issue of the elections. Indeed, it would be very strange if there was uncertainty. Each day, Israel's 4.5 million people feel the constantly changing effect of the nation's reeling economy, industrial disputes, a worrying level of productivity, and a frightening rate of annual inflation, standing now at around 400%. Early attempts by the new finance minister, Yigal Cohen-Orgad, to put the brakes on the inflationary spiral have had little obvious effect, and this will be a very real burden for the Likud government of Yitzhak Shamir to carry to the polls.
Everyone knows that the brink of disaster is there. I don't think that there's much difference between what the economists in Likud think ought to be done and what the economists in Labor think ought to be done. But there's one fundamental difference, and that is that it was a Likud government that loused it up.
Israelis have for many years got used to thinking it will be all okay tomorrow. Sales of expensive commodities like foreign cars have jumped rather than declined to such an extent that any available space aboard Israel-bound cargo planes is being used to meet the market. The man in the street just doesn't want to have his standard of living reduced, and it's clear that the major political parties are equally afraid of angering the electorate. So far, it has been a very low-key campaign, none of the emotion and fire of the '81 elections. Political analysts pinpoint the lack of enthusiasm to the uninspiring choice of leaders on both sides of the political fence. Prime Minister Shamir has none of the fervent patriotic drive and sense of historical destiny which swept Menachem Begin to power. Israel's hawkish defense minister, Moshe Aarons, a favorite of many of the United States Jewish community, has so far failed to generate any significant following for the Likud government in Israel, something the party had been desperately hoping for. Only his predecessor, Ariel Sharon, has found it possible to whip up a genuine show of support, and this in areas of traditional hardline Likud following. The Labour opposition fares little better, although the polls give them a strong chance of victory on the 23rd. Shimon Peres has been a lackluster leader of the Labour Party in opposition. Many hours better spent challenging the government from the parliamentary floor, given over to bitter infighting with a former Prime Minister, Yitzhak Rabin. Rabin has agreed to drop his challenge for the leadership this time around, seeking for himself the defense ministry. Labour's big hope was the successful wooing to its ranks of former President Yitzhak Navon, but his campaign has been disappointing as well. There is little or no chance of a clear governing mandate for either major party, so the balance of power will again depend on the smaller parties. And from this group emerges the most interesting leader of the campaign.
Critical element would be Weizmann's party, the former Minister of Defense who left the Begin government in outrage. His threshold for outrage is very low.
He's a very charismatic man in this country. I mean, very well regarded.
He is the only charismatic candidate leading a political list. And if Weizmann gets 6, he wants to be finance minister. I mean, it's like a man embracing a lady made entirely of thorns, but he wants to be finance minister. He wants to be prime minister, and he's been in the wilderness for a while since he resigned. And if he can bring the economy forward, you see, he has a good chance of being a future prime minister.
Opposition parties have made considerable political mileage out of Israel's continued military presence in South Lebanon in the wake of Operation Peace for Galilee. Rarely a week goes by without more deaths or injuries among the ranks of the young soldiers. Both parties are agreed that a pullout is necessary, and that as soon as possible. But neither party will set the wheels in motion until northern Israel is secure from attack. The issue of self-rule or autonomy for the Palestinian Arabs in the occupied territories is not seen as one of any major importance to the campaign in Israel. Likud will continue to guide any progressive agreement through the framework of the Camp David Accord, Labor under Peres proposes a partial return of territory taken in the '67 war. But while there is total disagreement among the Palestinians and their Arab neighbors on where to start, chances for a solution in the near future are bleak. Political analysts believe the Likud administration is prepared to do almost anything to retain power. It was in the political wilderness for far too many years. To that end, both major political blocs are certain to employ dirty tricks in the remaining campaign days. Mike SHEGOG, UPITN, Tel Aviv.